Don't copy strike me, Mary.
But they're still struggling to even break 10,000 viewers on the first episode, and this is our former First Lady.
I just saw a video the other day of Obama getting like a standing ovation at like a, what was it, a Knicks game or a Lakers game. My takeaway was that his stage presence and charisma was 100% real, and he commanded a room and was very, very good at, connecting with people, and the hype around her felt largely manufactured. Connected to the desire to get him over even more than he already was. But when he goes out, I mean, he's still a rock star in liberal cities. He is. But would anybody show up to watch like a 2-hour podcast of her? I don't know, but I think people would probably show up for him. Maybe not in the same numbers that conservatives get for podcasts and stuff. Like there isn't that thirst, I don't think, on the left for that type of long form audio content. I don't.
Right.
I think that they've liked the organization that they've always had, which is sound bites and Hollywood and network TV.
Late night shows. And that's kind of the opposite of the politicians. It's the people that structure to give the politicians the cover. But his hype has always felt very real. Hers, I guess, feels very manufactured.
I think that I'm not sure if her hype is manufactured or if he's just so charismatic that his kind of overflows to her.
So it rubs off on her. Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, just like I said, she would show up on TV shows.
She's not particularly charismatic herself, I don't think. One of the things that goes along with charisma, whether people like it or not, is pretty privilege. Like Barack Obama's a good-looking guy. He's got a big smile, big toothy grin.
He was also very young when he got in office.
Whereas she's not particularly attractive. I also don't think that. I think that
he's a bit body positive.
People like her because of Barack Obama. I think that her by herself, without Barack Obama, I don't think that she's particularly charismatic or likable.
No, but it's funny to think about, for instance, Melania Trump, starting a podcast. She would never do that. She would never even expose herself to public scrutiny in that way. Yeah. She keeps herself very low-key behind the scenes when she has the opportunity. She was even one of the only people sitting down during a standing ovation at Trump's address to Congress. Because what does she have to prove to anyone? People would be seriously interested in what she has to say, but she takes a more mysterious tone and doesn't choose to share anything personal with the public unless it's under a very controlled circumstance.
Which is its own kind of mystique.
That has its charm for sure, and that is kind of a form of privacy that is lost on people like Meghan Markle or Michelle Obama. Other people are basically just saying that this feels inauthentic. We came off of this election that was called a podcast election, and people claimed that the outcome of the 2024 election was almost entirely determined by podcasts and who they would host and who they would talk to, including Trump on Rogan, and Vance on Rogan and Theo Vaughn.
Well, even think about Logan Paul.
And the Nelk Boys, and what was the other one? Full Send?
Yeah, but them being as successful as they are doesn't even translate to the ones they hire sometimes. So they gave Hawk Tuah Chick a podcast on Jake Paul's or Logan on their network, right? Yeah. And even that felt to most people to be inauthentic because it wasn't something achieved of our own volition. It was put through somebody else's network to do so. And when you see these celebrities launch their podcasts and it's perfectly formed, it's got great graphic design and thumbnails and everything, it feels like it was developed by a company and then disseminated outward, whereas the way a lot of these people started, Joe Rogan goes back to the early days of podcasting. So
he was one of the very first.
Exactly. it has built-in credibility just by virtue of how long it's been going on. Theo Vaughn is so weird. He's a natural entertainer. It's very hard to look at that unless you're maybe politically inclined to dislike him, which I don't even know how that would work. He just had on... who did he just have on recently? He had on... somebody like some Democrat. Was
Theo Vaughn?
Yeah.
He just had Hassan Piker.
Yeah, he's Hassan Piker.
You also see Gavin Newsom hopping onto that trend because he realizes where people are interested. He's having right-wing guests on his podcast because he knows where things are trending. It's toward the right. And that's maybe not something to celebrate if we really think about who Gavin Newsom is
it's also
and what his motivations are. Yes. And the podcast election term came about because, as you said, those hosts have already built a credibility and trust with their audiences that the mainstream media outlets just don't have anymore.
Kamala did Call Her Daddy, which is the biggest podcast for women, and then they did not host Trump.
But it flopped because they struck the entirely wrong note with that. And to Alex Cooper's credit, she did offer to have Trump on Call Her Daddy, and I assume he decided against doing that. I would have loved to see it though. Eventually, maybe. But yeah, now Michelle Obama's podcast is being flooded with abuse from trolls. That's so sad.
Welcome to the internet.
Some of these comments were referring to the former First Lady criticizing her gender, with many users writing that she is a man, calling her Big Mike, and referring to the podcast as being done by two brothers. Other comments were more directly critical of the podcast, with one writing, "Forced, scripted, not authentic. This podcast is only entertaining because of the comments." Another said, "I know there's a DNC staffer whose job is to read these comments. This comment is to let you know that we don't want podcasts. We want policies that will improve our material conditions." Now, there were some people who were praising this podcast, but very, very few. And here's actually some data to back up Michelle Obama's unfair cyberbullying campaign. Online abuse and trolling are pervasive on social media, but Black women are disproportionately targeted. According to a 2018 study from Amnesty, Black women were 84% more likely to be mentioned in abusive or problematic tweets compared to white women. And 1 in 10 tweets mentioning Black women were either abusive or problematic. And another study this year from Forbes found that 27% of Black women have reported an incident of online abuse. That is what Michelle Obama and maybe half of Meghan Markle are experiencing right now. Torrents of abuse.
Yes.
They're just not allowed to be themselves. People are dulling their shine.
I feel like the podcast space is a rough go for celebrities, right? Like, it's going to be labeled as authentic from the get-go.
Because they're not from that.
Like, even the most successful celebrity podcasts, in my opinion, tend to be the ones who are like, I was a child actor, now here's me rewatching my show that I was in because this is my job now.
Mm-hmm.
Which feels like, you hate to see it, but you're like...
Is that what they do?
No, a lot of them do. Boy Meets World cast does that. I mean, not the main guys, but the other people in it. Who else? Mike Rosenbaum does his pod. I mean, his is more of an interview show, too. But him and the dude from Smallville, rewatch Smallville episodes. So.
Thank you!
Hold on! Yes, I wonder if Michelle Obama ever told Barack he was dimming her light.
He was trying to steal her glitter.
Do you think that Barack Obama ever dimmed Michelle's light?
Is that a euphemism that I'm not?
No, I'm asking the question. Thank you, Tom Will.
No, I mean, I think that if anything, Obama
That's really this $5 feel in every adult.
All right,
Sure.
let's move on then.
Jane H. Wilder said, "Happy Thrashing Thursday, Brett,
that
Mary, and
euphemism
Phil.
on
Out
this?
of all the things I've created, the memes, the shorts, I'm most proud of coining Thrashing Thursday."
Thank you.
You should be. Stefan Buttles said, "I want reparations from yesterday's hostage party." Reparations.
What reparations?
Y'all did that all on your own.
People were mad that I ended the show, but here's the thing. The show keeps going as long as there is a super chat to read. It's not my fault you guys weren't quicker.
If there's a 5-second delay, we out. That's all I'm saying. Shane H. Wilder said, surprise crisis parties before the show starts. Brett's glad he wore his brown pants today.
For real, bro.
Gross.
Oh.
Let's do one more.
Arsenal Man said, what kind of weirdo sits next to their date on a first date? Sounds like intimacy issues. It sounds like something. I mean, I agree for the record that it is weird to sit next to someone that you don't know, that you're just meeting. But once you're together, I think you ought to be sitting next to each other, not across, because across, yes, because across is business lunch. Across is you're closing a deal. Across is a job interview.
No, come sit next to me on the bed.
That's how I see it. I stand by that.
Okay, what if you are right-handed and your significant other is left-handed?
I never really encountered this problem before.
Do you want to do the elbow fight? I don't want to do the elbow fight.
I've never had this problem. Most people won't date a left-handed person.
Good call.
So it's not going to be that big of a deal.
Most people won't date a left-handed.
Not
would that be a deal breaker?
Okay, that's not what I mean. It's not that being left-handed is a deal breaker. It's just probability. You're not likely to date a lefty.
Yeah.
What qualifies you as left-handed then? Like I throw a baseball left-handed. I play hockey left-handed.
What?
But I write right-handed and I shoot a firearm right-handed.
I would say you're right-handed. Are you left eye or right eye dominant?
I'm left-eye dominant.
Oh, you're left eye dominant.
Yes.
So right hand
Interesting.
holding left. That's
You've got all sorts of
challenging.
Maybe it's because I'm deaf in one ear. Like that effed up my spatial awareness and stuff. But I'm left-eye dominant.
strange. I mean, maybe you're slightly ambidextrous.
No. And the thing is, in skating, I'm left foot dominant, but right spin dominant. So it's like a different thing where, for some people, like if you grow up, you can use one foot, but you have to learn to spin both ways. That's what we all did growing up. But if you're from California, you learn to spin one way, but you can use both feet equally as long as you're spinning in that direction. So it's all weird and all over the place.
Our guitar player, Mike,
Well, that's life. It's all weird and all over the
lefty.
place.
Writes left-handed, bats left-handed, plays guitar right-handed.
That's weird.
It is a little weird, but it's also smart because if you learn to play right-handed, it's much easier when it comes to buying guitars.
Also, if you want to have an interesting discussion with people about the concept of like unfairness and equity, being a left-handed player in baseball, for instance, like you're very limited for the positions you're going to be allowed to play because they've mastered the formula of what works from each position so much. Like I was a catcher growing up. You can't be a catcher in baseball if you're left-handed anymore because the majority of batters are right-handed.
We have a 20 from Dylan Dishner. Mary really just casually attacked the left-handed community.
I back it.
I didn't know it was a community. You guys are a community now? Everything is.
It's actually a community.
I'm sorry. That's not what I meant.
Stop picking on the minorities, Mary.
And I also, yes. Okay, let's go ahead and move on then.
Yeah. Anthony Mackie, who starred as Captain America in Brave New World, has some thoughts about masculinity and fatherhood that he shared on a recent podcast appearance. And I would say there are mixed reactions already because he has a stance that is predominantly pro-masculinity. He feels that it's been eclipsed in recent years and purposefully killed and diminished in public life, and it needs to make a comeback. So let's take a look at his thoughts.
Here we go.
I keep my boys humble. Like my boys have never had a pair of Jordans. You know, my boys don't do all that internet fly shit. I'm like your kids. And no, I could be the biggest star in the world. Do not let me catch you being stupid. Mm-hmm. Do not. And my oldest gets it. My 15-year-old, he tells the other ones, he's like, yo, don't make dad mad. Because once you get one that's right, you're going to straighten the others out. Mm-hmm. So it's just that thing of, in the past 20 years, we've been living through the death of the American male. They have literally killed masculinity in our homes and our communities, for one reason or another. But I raised my boys to be young men. And however you feel about that, you feel about that. But my boys will always be respectful. They will always say, yes, sir, yes, ma'am. No, sir, no, ma'am. They will always say thank you. They will always open the door for a lady. They will always make sure that their mother is taken care and provided for. They will always be men. And that's always since they were 2 years old. Every time I left for a job, I tell my 15-year-old, you're the man of the house. You make sure these doors are locked every night. This alarm is on. You text me or you call me every night before you go to bed and you wake up.
I love that.
Because we're men. If I'm not there to protect, he got to be there to protect. Because you can have all the money in the world, climb through the window, that money means nothing. Right. You can have all the celebrity in the world, jump through the door, that celebrity means nothing. Yeah. So you got to have a little guard in there, you know. And so for me, it's always that idea of American masculinity is very different.
Hold up. Okay.
There were some responses that didn't take it so well.
Mm-hmm.
One of them said, "A 15-year-old is not the man of the house. This is so ridiculous to put adult pressures on a child. Yeah, give them responsibilities, but don't subject a kid to the traumas of adulthood. Children are children, and adults are adults for a reason."
Him. He's saying if it should happen,
putting expectations
you don't want him to be a little
on
pussy.
Your kids is not evil.
I think it's more ridiculous to expect your child to go to sleep one day as a child and wake up an adult, and as if it's
birthday.
As if it just completely flips in the span of a minute. That
I mean, his wife should have a firearm and be trained in that firearm.
Well, that's true. I also hope he's making enough money that they live in an extremely secure, gated community
I'm sure they do.
with security and everything like that. That his 15-year-old is solely responsible for defending the family home. Another one said, "Raising a little soldier is not my priority."
Oh my god.
Mm.
Oh my god.
Like, they really kind of took this and twisted it any direction they could.
It's all women saying that kind of stuff.
I see
Or
these are both
spiritually
replies
women.
from men.
They're spiritually
Actually.
women, though.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, look, everything Anthony Mackie said was right and good.
There was literally nothing wrong with anything he said there.
Nothing.
Not a
Nothing
single
at
thing.
all.
Yeah.
Like, it's actually kind of... But, I mean, that's kind of the argument they say right now. You could say the most uncontroversial thing on the internet, somebody will find a way to make it controversial.
Another one said, "Anthony definitely voted for Trump."
I doubt that.
No, he actually is very much outspokenly on the left,
Mm-hmm.
but he has strong family values because I assume that's the way he was raised, and he wanted to pass that down as a strength to his kids.
Yes.
And at least didn't let the brain rot all the way to the center,
Mm-hmm.
you know?
And the other stuff he's talking about isn't even necessarily to do with masculinity. It was just not expecting things because you come from wealth.
Mm-hmm.
That would be a discussion about privilege, actually.
Mm-hmm.
That just because your kids will never have to want for food or shelter does not mean that they have to be given everything and allowed to live a life of excess just because you have the resources to do so. That's a good thing. Raising your kids to understand that you're not always that most people don't have everything they want or have their every whim regarded is good. It allows them a perspective that a lot of people in that world aren't going to have, and actually gives them a leg up in the future should they choose to go into a different profession other than the one that you're in, where they interact with normal people.
Mm-hmm.
One thing you'd have to teach them then is that you're going to be, you're not just going to be looked down, and I'm imagining that he's had conversations with kids about race and the perspective of how he feels that they're going to be judged based on their race. But what about being judged based on your income bracket and where you come from? Because, look, the sentiment in this country right now hates you for the money you've made every bit as much as you believe they might hate you for what you look like. There is a growing sentiment that people are not taking into account of just how much the have-nots have a burning hatred for the haves. And that's not just billionaires. It's the problem with Bill Burr's comment the other day, because he's an absolute moron talking about Free Luigi, not understanding that he is going to be hated every bit as much by those people, the most extreme of those people, as the billionaires that they criticize.
Right, and Anthony Mackie also shared some more conflicting thoughts on those themes of success and privilege later on in this episode
This one was weird to me.
Yeah.
I feel like, and to be fair, I feel like there was some context lost in this one.
Yeah, I'm sure.
I've been in the business 24 years, right? And I've seen people go from nothing to the biggest stars in the world. I've seen people go from one role to winning Academy Awards and doing all this shit. And what I realized yesterday thinking about it, we're lying to our kids, dog. And I think that's a big problem in our community. We tell our kids that they can, and this is fresh on my heart, like I literally just came to this conclusion last night. We tell our kids if they do right, they make the good grades, and they go to the programs, and they will become successful. If you work hard enough, your work will be paid off. And that's not true. Success is given. It's not earned. Because you can be the most brilliant. If one person don't tap you, each one of y'all. There were people who could hit harder, who could catch better, who could run faster. But somebody said, you're the one. And the other 50 behind you fell off.
What's the saying? Success is when luck meets preparation.
Yep.
Maybe that's what he's trying to say.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And because of that, I don't know what that emotion or that feeling is the scary thing. Because I went to all the programs. I've done Broadway, I've done off-Broadway, I've been in the business 24 years, I've been in 2 Academy Award films, I've done independent films, I've done major motion pictures. Now I'm Captain America. So now what?
Hold up. So is he saying that being Captain America means he's not successful? What are you talking about?
I don't think he says that.
No, that's not what he means.
What does he say?
I think that he means...
He did say the ideas are fresh in his mind, so he might not have gelled them out to the extent that he actually thinks about them.
I think that he means that hard work alone is not a guarantee for success.
Yes.
Okay.
Which is true.
That is true. And the thing is what is the counter argument to that? Don't try because you won't get a for sure answer?
No,
that doesn't make any
sense.
sense.
Trying to say.
No, I'm asking what the logical conclusion of the opposite perspective is. Because this is a sentiment that they say now about what happened with kids who were told the lie of go to college and you'll get a great job. Right? Mm-hmm. They said go to college, do everything right, you'll be rewarded with a good job. Oh crap, the housing market spiked. There are no jobs in your field that will pay off the loans. All of this stuff happened. I don't remember anyone ever telling me personally. Granted, I didn't go to a 4-year college, and I was way more interested in skating and traveling and all of this stuff. But I was never, ever told that work hard and you will succeed. The idea was you should work hard because working hard is its own reward, and success is an outcome that can happen, but is not ever guaranteed.
This has a lot to do with that culture of resentment that you were just referring to, because a lot of millennials, maybe not you, but a lot of millennials were raised thinking and being taught if you take these prescribed steps in life, everything will work out. Yeah. And then recessions happen and black swan events of all kinds happen and it doesn't really pan out that way. And these millennials ended up being very angry at the world for not being what they were told it was. We have a 20 from Viperous69. Brett is probably naturally ambidextrous like me, but you grew up mainly using one hand, causing the other to be dominant in random situations. For me, it's box, southpaw, bat, left-handed, can only play Guitar Hero left-handed, etc.
I can shoot a basketball right-handed. I can't throw a baseball right-handed, and I would never be able to... Like, my left foot in skating is far more dominant than my right foot unless it involves spinning to the left. So I don't believe that I'm ambidextrous in any way. I was always jealous of the kids who had who were naturally ambidextrous in skating.
Most of the replies, I think, are trying to understand his point. He's not saying not to work hard. He's saying that somewhere along the line, somebody with influence and power picks and chooses who gets opportunities.
I mean,
he's arguing against the idea that solely hard work can get you there.
Then I suppose he's right. That it's just framed in a way where it's horrible for a headline.
So in that case, it means the lesson is work hard and have all the right friends.
And and
have the right attitude.
We've made this joke before here that, like, look, you can do everything right, you can be the best at something, but if you don't know the right people and you're not personable enough, somebody who is more personable, who might be less talented but easier to work with, is going to get that opportunity. They talk about that.
Vivek.
They talk about this in Hollywood.
Hey Vivek Ramaswamy, did you hear that?
They talk in Hollywood about how actors will be hired. They might not be the greatest actor in the world, but the director knows that they're easy to work with. They're easy to direct. Maybe they won't get the most evocative performance ever out of them, but if a director wants something specific, they know the guy's going to make his call time. He's not going to be late. He's gonna work hard, and he's gonna be humble, and that goes for a lot. Maybe the problem is that too many people believe they are the brilliant artist or the brilliant person worthy of exception, but not everybody is Daniel Day-Lewis.
As for what he said about masculinity, though, and the fact that it's been devalued so much in society, I think there's nothing objectionable about what he said. Honestly, I am surprised that he said it. In this current climate, I'm surprised that he hasn't received even more backlash for saying it. I feel like that's just a sign that the times are changing, that's safe to say something like that as a public Hollywood celebrity who is just in a huge
it's just being real.
Marvel movie. Like, that wouldn't have been acceptable 5 years ago to be talking like that. Yeah. So, on that note, I actually do want to just jump right into the next topic, as it also relates to masculinity. Pedro Pascal and Oscar Isaac are being praised for displaying a non-toxically masculine friendship. They are friends. Perhaps, according to some, they're a little bit more than friendly. In all of their pictures together, they appear to be very physically intimate. Maybe to a point where a lot of straight men find it weird and they don't feel like this is normal for straight male friends to do this. So in a recent photo that was shared by Pedro Pascal on Instagram, they are cuddling. This was posted, or the photo was actually taken by Oscar Isaac's wife. And here you can see that in this photo, they are embracing
they swung one
each
too
other
many times and
very
now he's
closely.
Gay.
I mean, he looks like he's actually comforting him after he said like something went wrong.
They are sharing an intimate cuddle in front of a scenic backdrop. Oscar Isaac is cradling Pedro Pascal and smiling while resting his head on Pedro's. His hand is also visible on Pedro's shoulder, who has channeled his inner Ariana Grande by reaching up to clasp onto Oscar Isaac's thumb. It's giving Ariana Grande and Cynthia Erivo on the Wicked press tour vibes.
I'm thinking that he just got done filming his final scene in The Last of Us.
He's just feeling a little bit emotionally ragged.
The golf club is right next to him, and then he's sharing an emotional moment.
We have a 20 from Pop Culture Junkie. I worked for an affluent black TV station general manager who had 3 kids that he would take to a church every Thanksgiving. All day they would serve dinner to the less fortunate. Just one example of his great parenting.
Great parenting goes a long way.
Those are good values to instill. Now, a lot of people were discussing this photo after it was circulating online and saying that this is a great thing, that they can be so close with each other, even though they're both heterosexual and married to women. One person said, oh, thank you.
One person said, put a girl on.
No, they were not putting a girl on. They were not at all.
Pedro's like, not on my watch.
No, there were no girls allowed in that situation.
Maybe they have a treehouse.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
One person wrote, as a happily married straight man, this is the kind of friendship I would kill to have. Deep friendships filled with love are just deep friendships filled with love. Those friends are lucky to have each other. Another one said, more celebrity men known for playing tough guys, badass, strong men characters displaying ultra non-toxic masculinity, please. Another one said, I'm so over toxic masculinity. These two give me hope for the future.
But this isn't, like, why is this even in the same discussion? It's not masculinity at all.
I guess just them being men and doing anything, you can call it a form of masculinity, even if what they're doing is objectively effeminate.
What if they did it, like, at a gun range? Then is that like, both toxically masculine and not toxically masculine at the same time?
Tell me this as if there isn't an audience watching us right now. What is the actually, like, physically closest you've gotten as a straight man with your male friend?
So look, if they were doing this as a gag to get a reaction, fair enough.
Okay.
Right? Like if they were like, This will be funny. People will say stuff. It'll make all kinds of people get worked up, and we will do the thing that we're doing here, which is talking about it, blah blah blah. If it was a gag, fine. I'm on board. I totally back it. It's funny that way. We'll never know. I hope that they're laughing about it.
Oddly enough,
But I don't know. But if they're doing this just because they want to feel each other's like love and support and comfort, it's like, that's weird.
is this cultural? Somebody said that in the comments. They said, "Is this cultural?"
Because they're Latinos.
Yes. Somebody said in the comments.
I feel like Latin men are like with the
More
whole machismo
machismo.
thing.
Yeah, that's what I said. That's what I said. I was like, what?
I don't know if we have Latino
Or maybe-
men
maybe
in the
it's-
chat. Let us
maybe
know if
it's
this
just-
is normal for you.
Maybe it's just cultural in Hollywood.
But no, really answer the question though.
Not this.
Not this.
Not this.
Just like
This is the meme.
So
that-
you mean the line is like? Would you say the line for straight male friends is quick hug?
Sure.
I've even seen. I don't really actually see men hug with their arms now. They always do the dude hug,
There's the
the
handshake.
handshake that turns into a
That's
hug.
this.
That's
Yes.
one.
Yeah.
There are like it's cool.
Side.
So like I actually am like, if I'm like talking to like someone that I'm really close friends with, I'm a hugger. Like, and if there's a dude, I will full on hug. But that's not holding. That's not holding the hands and
It's
stuff
not
like
caressing.
that. No,
No.
It's definite. It's clearly platonic hug. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
So nothing like this.
Like this
No.
is the out. Like I'm just not the tactile, wanting to be touched person.
Mhm.
So
I am inclined to believe that this was not a joke that they were playing on all of us because they have a history of doing this together. In fact, in a Instagram post from years and years ago, they are seen together in this selfie. Oscar Isaac is nibbling his ear, nibbling Pedro Pascal's ear, and Pedro Pascal captioned the photo, "Oscar takes a bite." This is still up, by the way. And one commenter said, "It's hard to find friends who are affectionate like that. With same-sex friends, what's wrong with society where you can't show raw emotions with your friends without being criticized as needy and being too much to handle? Both men went through a lot of ups and downs trying to make it in their industry. I'm happy that they're both there for one another. That's what true friendship looks like."
this is its own meme territory on Instagram of like homoerotic the boys.
Yeah, it's like, hey, fellas, is it gay to cuddle with your bros?
Yeah,
is
this
it
is-
gay to kiss your bros?
Like
Yeah,
they're just
it
taking
is.
that meme and turning it into real life.
Why is that meme so prevalent? Like, I see it all the time, like men making these kind of gay
Dunno.
jokes.
The
It was different. Like, I feel like 10, 20 years ago, the joke was that you're calling your bro gay
Yeah.
to demean him, jokingly. And now the joke is like some kind of weird thing where you're calling yourself gay.
yeah.
And that's the joke. So what shifted there? I remember, like, I had male friends in college before I dropped out who did that. They would, like, cuddle with each other. And I was like, that's so weird. Are you kidding? And they just
conundrum,
thought it was the
not a
most
paradox.
normal thing in the world. They also found
Most
it
things
funny.
people
wasn't.
think are paradoxes
Yeah.
are conundrums.
It's like these Gen Z men are, like,
You just have to be
different.
smarter.
they're just
The other
different in a bad way.
the other question here is they're using this as a way of bringing up the topic of toxic masculinity as
Intellect.
if this is somehow a response or an answer to that without actually telling you what toxic masculinity is
I
to
said
them.
it slow
Which
enough.
I'm guessing anybody who looks
I said
at
it as
this as
slow
the
as I
answer to
can
that
for it to
thinks
make
that just
sense.
about any masculine behavior is toxic.
Right. But
Thought
what
it.
is sanctioned anymore
Not
for
said
men?
it.
I mean,
Like,
that's
what are you left with?
like
Is there even a definition of masculinity anymore if you can just mold it into whatever you want?
I mean, I think there's a huge gap here also in
Well,
real
that's a
world
problem.
application
Definitions
versus
are
the internet. Meaning that I've told you, and we've told the story before, of that
amorphous.
one horrendous experience I had on a college campus of like a woman telling me to not hold
Which
the
is
door
not
open
by
for her.
definition.
Look,
a
that is,
definition.
for me, at least in my experience, it is the outlier. It's not the way I've seen things in the real world. I've held open hundreds of doors for people and never once ever heard something like that, but you always remember the insane experience, right? So how is masculinity criticized in the real world as opposed to the theoretical on the internet?
Yeah.
Like, if a woman's car is broken down and you pull over to help her change a tire, I would be interested to know if there's any experiences from women who are like, no, don't help me.
I would like to say I was wrong earlier.
About
Pedro Pascal is not openly straight, but he's not openly gay either. So he might be gay. A lot of people think that he's gay and just doesn't talk about it.
I mean, I'm more offended by the calling him a... Like, the other thing in the article that they referenced is about not being typecast in roles, and they were like, how many scripts can they send me about playing a Latin gangster? I'm like, I've never seen Pedro
The industry
Pascal
wants him to
play
come
a gang
out.
member. I've only ever seen him
This
play...
is the same stuff that you hear from, like, John Leguizamo.
I've only
every
ever
5
seen
minutes.
Pedro Pascal play
But he probably
FBI
loves
agents
women.
and...
Who needs to tell Pedro Pascal that he
And
looks
is
white? Like, has anyone ever told him
Mis-
that? He does not look like
Confused.
Pedro, okay? He just doesn't. I'm sorry, you look like a guy named Joe Smith. And as for Oscar Isaac, I didn't even know that he was Latino,
Pedro.
so it just doesn't... You're not Pedro. You're not giving Pedro. I just sent you a video of Oscar Isaac that I wanted to show, where he's referring to Pedro Pascal as his significant other? Question mark? I guess
I'd have
this is
to
a running
say
thing for them.
my sweet girlfriend Pedro, my girl. We're two sisters, space sisters. We're two sisters in a space pod. That's my baby. I'm sorry, Pedro's.
I take Pedro.
It's my Pedro. It's my Pedro.
Oscar Isaac is...
I'd have to say-
he's apologizing to his wife because
I
he's in a
told you he's a
relationship
swinger.
with Pedro Pascal.
Yeah.
I don't know what to make of that, but it's giving Brokeback Mountain. It's just it. Also, Pedro Pascal was in a very similar gay western alongside Ethan Hawke just last year. So he swings a certain way. I'm willing to say that.
I just, when I see people talking about this, it's Hollywood.
Mm-hmm.
It's Hollywood and urban blue.
He
city
could be
men.
gay for pay.
It's sort of like...
He gets a lot
Okay,
of
I've
money.
heard Candace Owens
could be
talk
gay for
about the
pay.
way that Taylor Swift walks around with her girl
A lot
squad.
of money makes gay
And
for pay.
she
a lot
says,
of
you know,
gays.
I'm the same age as Taylor Swift. I definitely don't hold my friends' hands.
I mean, we've talked about that.
and skip around like little girls. That's not age appropriate, and it's definitely a photo op.
Well, when we brought this up before, I mentioned that it seemed like a photo op. You said maybe it's because of all the press and not wanting to get...
Yeah, that's what I would say if it were like a couple of times that she does
Well,
this.
or she like, we had a slumber party. Like,
Yeah.
dude, you're in your 30s.
She's talking about being a 35-year-old woman who does slumber parties with other women her age. They're a bunch of weirdos.
Normal women don't have slumber parties because they have to go to work the next day.
Yeah.
Yeah, because they don't drink wine.
All right, let's finish up the super chats.
Normal
I have no
girls
conclusion to all of this. Do you have
who have
something
slumber parties
monumental
don't
to
drink
add? I
wine.
don't even know what to
I
add.
have something monumental to add. They're gay.
Okay.
We're finishing the super chats now. Weary Traveler sent us an apple emoji
Thank
and
you.
something else.
I
don't know.
deducted that they
I think
are
it's because
gay,
Phil's here.
Mary. Thank you.
Brian
for the
Bledsoe said, I use
clarification.
Fandango and refunds can be Fandango credit or back to my card, plus all of the different
Deduced.
theater chains and my membership
Correct,
reward are
deduced.
connected. That was the one that
missed that.
bought Rotten Tomatoes out.
Yes.
So now you can't rely on them anymore. Kenneth Hart said, I read in People fans booed Tool at a festival for repeating the set in Sans Fest. These are not fans. Everyone knows MJK will mess with you for lols.
Maynard James Keenan.
Well, apparently
MJK.
everyone doesn't know that because I'm part of everyone and I didn't know
Fair.
that. Weary Traveler said when Donald Trump tweeted he's never seen a skinny person drink Diet Coke, he was thinking of Rosie. I think he was thinking of himself
So did
because
I.
Trump loves
Diet Coke.
Diet Coke and he's not skinny. He's definitely overweight. Shane H. Wilder said Rosie is a lesbian, kids are adopted. When she came out, she said, I don't know if I'm allowed to say that, bike. It would have been better if she just left and did an Irish goodbye. That would be more appropriate, wouldn't it? If she really understood her ancestral culture, she wouldn't need to announce her exit to anyone. James Coteridis.
The best, by the way.
I mean, I think you should say goodbye to the person who invited you, and you're not obligated to anyone else.
Fair enough.
The host or the person who invited you. James Coteridis said, Phil, any good memories from sharing the stage with Blood Has Been Shed and the Red Chord? Also, what's the chance All That Remains will get Howard as an opener?
I mean, I don't know which band Howard is on cycle with. I don't know what band he's releasing music with right now. I know he's got a couple things that he's doing. He's a busy guy, always got irons in the fire and stuff. I don't know that I have any particular memories about All That Remains of Blood Has Been Shed. I mean, I've seen Blood Has Been Shed more times than I can count because they're from Connecticut, and All That Remains and Blood Has Been Shed was kind of coming up around the same time. I would go to shows, and Blood Has Been Shed was playing like all the time. So I don't have anything in particular, but I just remember like how incredibly heavy they were and how crazy their pits always were, and generally I'm kind of trying to stay out of the way. So yeah, that's about all I got for Blood Has Been Shed. Great band, great guys too.
Not That John Stewart said, I saw Kiss in 2000 in Pittsburgh. It was my first concert. They were opened by Skid Row and Ted Nugent. Great show. That must have been one of their first end of the road tours. Then.
Yes.
Dingus Khan said, Phil, since you're from the best generation, you grew up with some awesome music. Were there any bands you never got to see before they actually retired?
So, sort of. There's this band called Carcass that I'm still a huge fan of. I don't know if they're still playing shows. They might be. But I haven't seen them, and that's like one of the only bands that was like a really big influence on me that I haven't seen. So if they're still playing shows, I'd like to. I know they broke up for a long time and kind of got away from from being active, but I know they also kind of got back together and started doing stuff again. So I'm not sure if they're an active band currently, but I still would love to see them.
Arsenal Man said, my favorite guitar, I'm not going to know how to say this, Gibson EB.
I miss Jessica.
That's literally what it says. 1961 model.
You might be talking about
Do you know what he's
EB0?
It says EB-0.
Exactly.
I don't know what that means. I don't know anything about guitars. Shane H. Wilder said Ace Frehley opened for Alice Cooper in 2022 and got booed off stage for saying...
It's a bass.
Oh, okay. So then, not...
Yeah, it's an SG style bass. So.
We already know you're bigoted against bass players.
Absolutely.
Got booed off stage for saying everyone should get the jab. Alice saved it by putting on a great show. Since then, didn't Alice Cooper actually, endorse Trump?
I don't know.
Or something like that.
I mean, I know he's religious, but no.
Oh, I think that was Shane H. Wilder. Yeah. Arsenal Man said, Dad toys ain't cheap.
Yeah.
Men be shopping, a lot. I didn't know about this. Pop culture.
What do you think they put in their man caves? They got to put something in there.
I reject the concept.
I know.
The concept of a man cave. Pop Culture Junkie said, met Simmons when he was promoting Michael Crichton's Runaway in 1984. He gave such a bad interview, I never used it on air. Crichton was great, by the way.
That's awesome.
One of the parts of that $12,000 experience was having a meal with Gene Simmons, either in his hotel or backstage.
Does he have the makeup on when he eats? That's the real question.
I wonder.
I would assume that he would not.
But that just, to me, I don't want to pay for that. That sounds so awkward.
Yes, it does.
Right? It's the most expensive first date.
It's like when you enter a contest to win the chance to spend a day with some celebrity. I'm like, that sounds horrible.
That sounds
even if it was you get to spend a day with Ken Griffey Jr., who I idolized growing up. If it was you get to go hit baseballs with Ken Griffey Jr., that would be pretty cool. But the whole day?
Just hanging out.
The whole day?
Yeah.
I don't know.
I don't want any of that business. Shane H. Wilder said, don't forget, Kiss also put their blood into the ink of a Kiss comic book and made a horrible movie called Kiss Meets the Phantom of the Park.
Anyone you just meet to
well.
spend an entire day with them is...
You can say firsthand that it's horrible.
It's terrible.
Corn Pop said, I'm shopping. Hello, Mary.
What are you shopping for?
Christina Lee said, Mirror, Mirror with Lily Collins is the best Snow White movie ever. If you like fashion, it's worth watching just for costumes alone.
There you go, Mary. That's a good suggestion for you.
I never heard of that. I'll look into that. Kenny Ramey said, remember the episode of Home Improvement when Tim and Jill ended up talking for the entire night to try to understand what issues they were going through at that point in their lives?
No.
I never watched Home Improvement, so no.
Watched it growing up, but not any time recently.
Gordon Shumway said, people need to make Mean Girls memes of stop trying to make fetch happen, only these say stop trying to make Meghan Markle happen. They really are trying, aren't they? They just won't stop.
Yep.
Shane H. Wilder said, Meghan and Michelle podcasts, gay and lame, mostly gay.
I bet you they should have their own show together.
Yeah, that would actually be more successful than either of them
They
alone.
should just make a porno.
I would watch it.
What would it be called?
Get it over with.
M&M's. Uncoded. I don't know. James Coderidis said, Mary, good showing with Michael Knowles. Stay emo. I will. Thank you. Stefan Buttle said Michelle's brother looks like... I don't know if... Am I allowed to say that on YouTube? He looks like a butch lesbian? That's what they said.
I thought it said Dutch.
No.
I was like, is there some type of defining factor that makes one look like
dark.
Dutch?
I didn't really think that, but you're entitled to your opinion. Omega
So,
Red Fan said, Relinquished by All That Remains is one of the best songs, sir.
Thank you very much.
Just the best songs like ever. O.T. said, people refer to 1984 and Brave New World when talking about dystopian futures, but nobody refers to THX 1138?
Yep.
Pre-Star Wars Lucas?
Yep.
Thoughts?
Do you have thoughts on that, Phil?
I've never seen it, but
What
I'm
is this?
aware of it.
Aware of it, never seen it.
Is this a movie?
Yeah.
He made it like... Is it
Before
part of
Star
Star Wars, or
Nope.
is it
No,
totally separate?
unrelated. Before he made Star Wars, he made THX 11 or whatever it is.
That's a terrible name for a movie,
Yeah.
actually.
You say so.
Pat the Plumber said, I don't know why any conservative would give New Scum the time of day. Epic fail by Kirk and Bannon.
No, the thing is that conservatives love to debate and talk about
They can't
stuff.
get enough
They
of
can't
it.
get enough of that shit.
They're obsessed.
And it's beneficial for their brand to do it.
But they have to realize that they're benefiting New Scum by doing that. They need to keep that in mind. It's not just them who's benefiting from it. Cesario JPN said, wait, I thought we already had 2 black brothers on a podcast already, the Hodge twins.
Saw they had Lily, what's her name, on.
Lily
How
White?
original. They had Lily Phillips on?
Yes.
What did they talk about?
I have no idea.
What do you think?
I mean, maybe
Tax policy.
latest
6.
book she's been reading. I don't know.
1,000 people.
What is at that point? There's like nothing to talk
Wait,
about.
was she
There's
the
nothing to
1,000
talk
people or was
about.
Bonnie Blue the 1,000?
There
I thought
is,
Bonnie
though.
Blue was the 1,000.
There is.
Both
Bonnie Blue was 1,000. Lily Phillips was 100.
And imagine getting owned that hard in your
Whatever.
perspective, in your respective journey towards degeneracy.
Whatever, 100.
But it's like, what are you going
1,000,
to talk about?
whatever.
Every time I see a clip
The
of
point
them
is
talking
you got
about it,
fucked
they're like,
the whole
yeah,
day
it was
by a
crazy,
ton of
haha.
dudes.
Yeah.
Like, there's nothing to reveal. If everything has already been out there, like we've seen it all, we've
There's
heard it all,
nothing
there's
to
nothing,
reveal.
but you
If
cannot
get fucked
expose
by more
anything
than
else.
When the
7
Hodge twins
dudes
came
for the
in for
entire
IRL, they
day.
gave everybody, like, they gave a bunch of merch
Like-
out, and I got the last white privilege card.
Oh, I got one of those too.
And I gave it to my brother as a gift.
Yeah. There was a white privilege cologne over there. Did you see that? You should take that. You should use that.
I gave my brother the white
In fact,
privilege
it's
card.
probably
He loved it.
like
Not that John Stewart said, me be left-handed, marry, die alone and unloved. Yeah,
It
that's
is,
totally what I said. Fine. Moonlight said, your guitar player Mike?
Yes.
Mike?
Yes.
Hunt?
Hunt?
Oh, God.
That was the super.
Get it, guys?
You paid for that.
Wow. Thank you for the $2. Bombchus said, I am 6'5" and left-handed. Everything is too small and backwards. Can I get a month too?
You deserve one.
That must be difficult. I'm sorry. Brian Bledsoe said, I guess I'll sit at cross because I'm trying to close a deal, if you know what I mean. I'll see myself out. Yeah, it's all business.
In the negotiating phase of this transaction.
All business on the coffee date. The Crafty Raccoon said, I prefer sitting across from my fiancé. I enjoy eye contact when conversing.
I'm
We
glad
both
we
have
had
more room
coffee,
to
but
eat
can we
comfortably.
convey
Also,
now,
playing
please?
footsie is more fun. I just think you're wrong. I don't think that
Or else I'm
you need
gonna...
to be making constant eye contact, but it's not impossible to make eye contact if you're sitting next to each other anyway. So the way you were talking about it, you were saying like you have to turn your entire body to turn your head. Does your neck work?
No.
Like your neck doesn't turn? Is that a problem for you? Verdict on that.
Yeah.
I've heard similar stories.
Shane Wilder said, everything Anthony Mackie said is true. I was raised that way, and if I'm blessed enough to get married and have kids, the boys will be raised the same. I liked that he was also talking about teaching them chivalry in a time when that's not a fashionable thing to talk about.
Yep. Wonder if he has daughters too, or if he only has boys.
He didn't refer to them if he does. Yeah. Weary Traveler said, success isn't earned, it's given. Whois, shut it down.
Shut it down!
I don't get it.
The problem is that phrase taken out of context leans very heavily into how people feel about a lot of stuff these days, which is that the system is rigged against you, and there's no point in trying, therefore revolution.
Mm.
Good thing. There's the silver lining about that is there are very few people that are motivated enough to actually engage in an organized revolution.
The actual ones who want the revolution are actually just too lazy to have the revolution, which
because
is beneficial.
if they were so lazy, they would be doing things that are productive, and they wouldn't want the revolution. Because to be honest with you, like no matter what people say or think about, like modern Western society, it's never been easier to survive than it is now in Western society, like in the U.S. Like, 100 years ago, typhus would off you. You get the wrong kind of cut.
I mean, you see those
too
posts.
Deep and you die of blood infections.
The one day that are like, you have to work 40 hours a week, 9 to 5 every day. It's like 8 to 6 with traffic. We weren't meant to live like this. It's like, actually, before the Industrial Revolution, you were exactly meant to live like this, and it works. Mm-hmm. Like, you live in the most coddled time.
You worked like that for the entire growing season and prayed that you had enough to get you through the winter because you were just basically huddled together with your family indoors trying not to freeze to death.
Yeah. And then there's an argument to be made that the generation before them knew what it was to own, and a lot of this generation, like nothing there. Like, you're not allowed to even own your Adobe Premiere anymore. You have to freaking rent it. Mm-hmm. Like you don't get to own your, like, if you want to own your movies, you can own all the movies you want, but here's the cheaper option, but you got to pay monthly. Like there's an argument to be made that there's such a stark difference in the idea of ownership between the Boomers and Gen X and then Millennials and onward that this type of divide and fighting was always inevitable. Yeah. And I do think that the right sometimes underestimates how the have-not, how widespread the feeling of the have-nots is. Although I could be wrong given the results of the last election.
Shane H. Wilder said, 2 dudes can bro hug or slap each other on the back. A regular hug is reserved for close homies at weddings and funeral. Anything else is gay. This is the verdict, guys? Do you agree with this?
Whatever. I'm not like, I mean, just like arguing over what dudes do. That's probably
maybe
just
that's
as gay
gay.
as the hug.
Yeah.
And when you do the hug, you get 2 pats on the back. Anything more is lingering, and it's pretty sussy.
Mm-hmm. Red Snow
3
said,
pats is sussy.
Red Snow said, built different, whinier, faker, gayer, lamer. Junie said Pedro played the Red Viper, a bisexual in Game of Thrones. I didn't know that his
Mary, is it your opinion that if you will play a gay person and kiss a man in a movie for a role, does that make you actually gay?
Yes.
Okay.
Gay for pay, still gay.
Okay.
Voltage 75 said, Brett, did you hire All That Remains to play at your wedding?
I don't think I couldn't afford them. The wedding industry, ladies and gentlemen, is an absolute racket. The whole process is crazy.
There should be a documentary about the wedding industry. I would love to see that.
They should make a movie called The Wedding Planner. Maybe Jennifer Lopez could be in it.
Nice.
But
Yeah.
the
Thought of this.
the great thing is though is that given that Olivia knows exactly what she wants, and we're going through this whole thing, and she's like, "What do you think of this?" And I say, "Yes." I love that, and I do.
This, and I say yes.
And I love that. So.
James Pauly said, you might reject the man cave, but I am in mine right now watching you and working on a mini bike.
You're in your home. Who pays for that home?
Yeah, I reject the concept for basically that reason. Moonlight said, Mary, why don't we have hobbies, but all these guys have a million hobbies? Are we just boring? I have hobbies that aren't related to like combat or killing things or fighting.
That's a yes. That means yes.
Things.
She's saying yes. We're just bored.
I mean, I hate sitting around. I get really uncomfortable. Maybe it's part of the sobriety that I spent so much time sitting around when I was using that it's like a weird type of reaction that I have where I can't sit, because I'm high energy most of the time anyways. I'm naturally that way, so my leg starts to tap.
Women are not boring, we're just different,
Yeah,
and what we think about is relationships with people. If we have a hobby, it's usually gonna converge around conversations. We just want to talk. We want conversations. Any of our hobbies are just about those things. We just want to talk to people.
I mean, men get that through their hobbies too, depending on what they're doing, right?
We also bond in silence.
We go skating, and skating for us, if you go street skating, you're not at a skate park. You're going to a street skating spot. You're going to a ledge. You're going to a rail, and you skate and you converse in between attempts, and that's part of the bonding experience. One of the inside jokes in our sport is loiterer in chief. You spend half your life loitering at businesses you're not supposed to be at.
So we have a 20 from the Manic Mustache. Late as usual, but apropos to boys being boys, it's only gay if you forget to say no como. And as a former collegiate wrestler and Latin POMC, Peter Pascal is as Latin as a Taco Bell Mexican pizza. Stay toxic, my friends. I mean, I think that Taco Bell is authentic. Fight me on that. Sorenko Productions said, Earl and Oscar to Mary's list of gay actors. It's getting longer by the day. Pop Culture Junkie said, are there podcast versions of an industry plant? Yes, Bobby Althoff. Number one.
Yeah. Gone. Nobody's heard from her since.
Who else?
Bobby Althoff would have been the one I would have suggested.
Yeah.
I can't think of another. But I mean, you go on these. I
mean, Hop to it.
Yes.
So that's, yeah.
At least there was an inciting incident that at least made it semi make sense.
Who else? Oh, that guy. He's so boring.
Lex
I can't
Friedman.
remember. Yes. Yeah. I was literally about to say he's so boring. I can't remember his name. Lex Friedman. Industry Plant. No Control said, two people sitting on the same side of an otherwise empty booth is weird.
Don't care.
It's not weird. You're weird. Shane H. Wilder said, Alice is a Republican, very traditional IRL, and voted Trump. He just plays a villain on stage. Yeah, I thought I heard that from somewhere. Not That Jon Stewart said, THX1138 is the name of the main character. People live in square box pods. No one has names. It's a dystopian future movie. I recommend. Yeah, I mean, that's fine. I just don't think you should name your movie that, because nobody's going to be able to remember it or recommend it without sounding like an idiot.
I was browsing Amazon Prime last night before bed and realized if you guys were looking to watch a Gene Hackman movie after we talked about Gene Hackman last night, they did put Enemy of the State on Amazon Prime. But also, for at least the next 24 hours, Surf Ninjas, the absolute masterpiece starring Ernie Reyes, is up there for it's like I was like gonna watch it right before bed, and it's like it's going away in the next 45 hours. They shouldn't do that. They should warn you when something's about to be taken off the platform. I hate that. But go watch Surf Ninjas. It was a masterpiece. Is that everything?
Yeah, I think we're
That
all
is all.
caught up.
All right, guys. Before we go, would you hit the like button on this video, please, and subscribe to the channel if you are new here and you have not subscribed here yet already. Again, please and thank you. The best way that you can help this show grow is to subscribe and share the videos out with everyone. It helps us grow organically. So thank you guys so much for that. And Phil, thank you.
I am Phil That Remains on Twix. I'm Phil That Remains Official on Instagram. The band is All That Remains. You can check out our newest release. It's called Anti-Fragile. You can check it out on Apple Music, Amazon Music, Pandora, Spotify, YouTube, and Deezer. And don't forget the left lanes for crime.
Perfect.
I was about to remind you of Deezer. You can send me validation on Instagram at Mary Archived, or you can send me hate on X. That is also Mary Archived. I'm also going to be on Timcast. IRL tonight, so catch me over there.
How about that?
Grazie, anche se no.